Bellator 260, and the curtain has been lifted. The fight sphere kind of gone. You know, it's fans gonna be back in the seats. Bittersweet moment a little bit. I know everybody liked the curtain, but it's better to have the fans back, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I walked in here and I was thinking originally, like, where's the curtain at? And you know, we had a closed environment for the last year since July. I mean, it's been a great run, but I am so ready to have the fans back. And again, it's a limited fan capacity. We'll have 1,900 is our limit, and I think the 1,900 people here that will have a great time and be back to live sports, because I always felt like, you know, live sports needs fans, and fans need live sports. So it's one more step just back to being normal, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, we've been through a lot of events. I think this is event 19 in a row here at Mohegan, besides the European event. So when you reflect on that journey, I mean, is it kind of crazy to look back on just the past year and how many events that you've held here?
I think we've done quite a few. I think that Tom Cantone, that runs the building here, I think he said between us and boxing, Showtime Boxing that is, we've had 34 events in the can here in that closed environment. So it's been a great run, man, and the hotel's been great to us. Tom's been great to us. He's, you know, they've really gone out of their way to help and make sure that these events run smooth, and the dates are available. Even when they had basketball coming in and out of here, you know, they work with us. So, you know, to me, it's been a great run, and they've been great partners, and we'll be back. I mean, to me, this was a venue that we came maybe three or four times a year. So now we'll come here, you know, 3 times a year or so, but we'll be on the road in the meantime.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that later, but let's touch on it now. You have 2 more events here on the schedule. You have Bellator 261 at the end of this month. You got Bellator 262 next month. What's after that? I mean, are those the last 2 shows here at Mohegan before you guys get back on the road?
Yes, that's going to be the last 2 fights here before we get back to our normal schedule and we get on the road. But, you know, we have a big announcement next week that I'm sure you'll get information on, and you'll have to, you know, check it out. But we definitely have a lot of big news to announce on the schedule and where we're going, who's fighting, that sort of thing. So, you know, tune in next week.
Cool. Let's talk about this card. Douglas Lima versus Yaroslav Amosov. A pretty awesome fight. I mean, anytime a champion's fighting a 25-0 contender, I think people are going to dig it, just even casual fans on paper. So how excited are you for this matchup, and what are you kind of expecting out of these two?
You know, I was in Florida, and I stopped by AT&T, had lunch with Dan Lambert, talked to him, just hanging out, getting caught up. And he told me, he said, look, Amosov is the best wrestler in this gym. He said, this guy is a beast. They've had other, you know, collegiate level wrestlers that were at the highest, you know, Olympics, and come in here, and this guy is ripping them up. So to me, I think he's got a complete game. I think Douglas Lima's gonna have his hands full, but you know, Douglas Lima's a veteran too, that's been around and done it all. And I think it's really gonna depend on who wants it more tomorrow night. So I wish both guys good luck, and you know, let the best man win. But I think it's gonna be an amazing fight.
Co-main event, another great fight between 2 guys that are competing at 175 pounds, but essentially they're welterweights. Paul Daly, after his last fight, the big discussion was what his future was with Bellator. Would he be retiring? But here we are, and like a month later, he's fighting again. So I'm assuming after the Hamasi fight, you guys were able to pretty much come to terms pretty easily?
You know, it wasn't even terms. We had him for more fights. We had multi-fights left with Paul. You know, and it's just, you know, it's all right. It is what it is. But you know, Paul wants to fight, and we want him to fight. I love his fighting style, and this is a great matchup for him. And let's see if he can get it done, because Jackson's no joke. This guy, you know, he showed me a lot when he beat Neiman Gracie. That was a big win for him. And then his style is, you know, I think perfect for Paul. But you know, Paul's style might be perfect for him too. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, and when I spoke with Jason Jackson earlier this week, you know, I kind of asked him, was there any thought about sitting out, trying to be a #1 contender, see how the title fight played? And he said the Bellator had told him that MVP was going to be next no matter what. Is that true? Is Michael Venom Page the #1 contender?
I mean, if you look at our rankings, MVP is, you know, I think he's #1, right? So, you know, he should be considered, and I don't see why not. But let's see how these guys look. You know, to me, I always like this, and then let's see what happens when the rankings get shuffled, depending on how these guys look. But you know, these guys are world-class fighters at the highest level. MVP is as well. MVP had such a great performance, you know, against Anderson, maybe 3 weeks ago. So, you know, I think that we'll figure that out once this fight's over.
And you just mentioned that you got back from Miami. You were at the Logan Paul Floyd Mayweather fight. What was that experience like?
You know, I'll tell you, it was definitely had the big time fight feel. You feel like you're in a big time boxing match. And And then the fight is what it is. I mean, come on, Floyd said it from the beginning. This is an exhibition. We know that Logan Paul, as great of an athlete as he is, and have all that wrestling background and been training boxing for a couple of years or 3 or 4 years, whatever it is. Look, he's fighting, arguably one of the best, fighters in the world, and so, the fight is what it is. I think Floyd was trying to coast. The one thing I will say about Logan Paul is I believe Floyd tried to put the gas on and he couldn't do it. And Logan had a great strategy and he just leaned on him and grabbed him and leaned on him and he did what he had to do. I mean, to go 8 rounds with Floyd Mayweather says a lot to me about how bad he wants to be in the combat sports game.
And I know you grabbed dinner with him, I believe, last year or a few months back, right? And he said, I mean, he was on the broadcast for the last Bellator event. He wants to do one MMA fight at some point. Would you entertain that? Would you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? And we wouldn't do it like, okay, you got to go fight, Giga Musasi, right. Or you got to go fight, Nemkov or something. The tournament winner versus Jake Paul. Listen, these kids are athletic. They're getting better, but they have a good striking game with the hands. They have a good wrestling background. Started learning the jiu-jitsu. But we would put him in there with people of their record and their experience level. And I think would have some really interesting fights. Let me tell you, everybody and their uncle will want to fight these guys. The hands. I've already been getting calls all day. We don't even have him signed for MMA, but hey, I want to fight. Calm down, everybody. Just calm down. So, listen, they're bringing a lot of hype. They're bringing a lot to the game, and they create a lot of excitement. Look what they did for that fight with Floyd, the exhibition with Floyd. Created a lot of excitement. And I'll tell you a story. My niece that lives in Jacksonville. I went to see her before I came up here, and this will just lay the landscape for you. And I said, hey, did you watch the fight? She says, no, who fought? I said, Logan Paul had a fight, and she's like, oh my God, Logan Paul, I love Logan Paul. He's the greatest. Oh, I love him on, YouTube, whatever, Instagram. And I'm like, okay, well, did you watch a fight? She goes, well, who did he fight? And I said, he fought Floyd Mayweather. And she's like, well, who's that? She had no idea who Floyd Mayweather was, but she knew who Logan Paul was. She knows the Paul brothers. So that tells you what today's young youth culture is really thinking. And, I think it's just ironic, or no, it's just funny that these guys have really done such a great job promoting themselves and marketing and building their brand that, my niece who's 14, just loved the fact that, I was at a Logan Paul fight, but she didn't even know anything about Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, that's funny, man. And going to his brother, Jake Paul, he's going to be fighting your pal Tyron Woodley in August for Showtime. Is Bellator going to have any sort of involvement with that card? Like, would you lend fighters? I know it seems like maybe some opportunities there for some of your guys to be.
I'll tell you, we've had a couple of our fighters that want to box, and Chris Cyborg put her hand up. Michael Venom Page put his hand up. They want to box. Say, hey, put me on the card. I'll be happy to do it. So, we'll talk to Steven and see what the thought is on that card and what they want to do. But if our fighters want to box, I mean, come on, this is a great, company to have that, intercompany relationship with, and it's all in the family. So to me, why not? Let's do it. And we'll just see. I really haven't sat down and talked to Steven yet about it.
Are you happy for your buddy Tyron to get the money fight?
Absolutely, because I talked to his mom at the fight, and T-Wood was there, but I talked to his mom a little bit, and she is, she was so excited. It was like a reunion in a way, because I remember her just in the early days of Strikeforce, and she'd be on the cage just yelling, just yelling and yelling, and sometimes maybe willing him to come back and get the victory, right? But love her, love T-Wood. They're part of the family. I think he has his hands full more than people think, because these other, Jake's just been working on boxing. He's getting better and better and better, and he's sparring with the right guys. And I'm telling you, they're athletic, they're strong, they're young, they're fit, and they're getting better and better in boxing. So that's dangerous when you have a guy that's coming off of, an MMA career, who's, you're fighting transitional fights. The weight's much different, than a boxing match. Just in, like, you're worried about a leg kick, you're worried about a takedown. Your balance is different, and your weight balance is different than a boxing fight. So, T-Wood could do it, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed, because that's my guy. But he's gonna have his hands full, and Jake's no joke. So T-Wood, train hard, make us proud.
I love it, man. Last question for me. Any sort of update on the Patricio Pitbull, AJ McKee finale there?
Yeah, that's something we'll have announced next week. It'll be part of our plans of where we're heading and where we're going first, and that will be the very first fight that we announce.
Great. Appreciate the time, Scott.
Thank you.